As of right now, there is just 3 points separating first place and fourth place in the EFL Championship, with all 4 sides looking a level above the rest of the teams in the division. However, all 4 sides, as much as they have been really good this season, they've all shown signs of mass weakness. Therefore, the automatic promotion race and the title race is pretty much wide open. But today we're here to sit down and look at who will end this season at the top of the pile, because I feel it's the question that everyone's really asking, because any of the 4 sides have a fair claim to say that they will be the best side come the end of the season. So, as I said, today we're going to sit down and look at which team could walk away with the English second tier title come the end of the season. I think it's probably best if we start today's video by looking at Leeds United. I mean, they are top of the league just about at the current moment. To be honest with you, I think Leeds might be the most bizarre team in the league in my opinion, because they've got so much quality, but they're not flying away with it like maybe you would expect them to. They've got arguably the best players across the pitch when you look at the likes of Tanaka, who has a strong argument of being the best midfielder in the division. You've then also got Pascal Struijk, who again has a very strong argument for being the best centre-half in the division, followed shortly by Joe Rodon, who again isn't too far off him in that debate. Then on top of that, you've got players in the attack like Largi Ramazani, Willie Gnonto, Joe Perreault, Dan James, who really probably all start for almost every single team in the Championship. However, as I said, they're not flying away with it like maybe some would expect with the quality of their squad. And if I'm completely and entirely honest with you, I think there's a couple reasons why Leeds aren't necessarily running away with the title like I think a lot of people probably would think if you looked at it on paper. But there is one specific reason that is probably stopping them from being at least 6 points clear, and that's Illan Meslier in goal. This season, Leeds have created the most XG in the league, registered the most shots on target in the league, and created the most big chances this season. But, more importantly, they've conceded the least XG, faced the least shots, and won the ball in the final third more than anyone else. Statistically, Leeds are the best side in the league, and obviously the top of the table, yes, but they are so far clear in every metric. They're not just really good defensively, they're not just really good going forward, they're a complete side. At least they're the best side statistically, and I mean they are by far and away the best at protecting their goalkeeper and limiting what he actually has to do. But then if we actually look at the goals they've conceded, they've not conceded the least goals in the league and only have the 3rd most clean sheets in the division. Now, don't get me wrong, having the 3rd most clean sheets in the division is still more than enough to get promoted. It's still really positive, and they've still conceded something like 0.7 goals per 90, which is really strong. But if we're honest, them stats should and probably very much so could be a lot better. If we look at Meslier, he's prevented negative 1.73 goals and has a save percentage of just 66.1%, which is, in all honesty, pretty bad. If we then look at a couple of games where him himself, just Meslier, has cost Leeds points, off the top of my head, I mean, we've got Hull most recently, we've got a massive game away at the Stadium of Light against Sunderland, which he literally threw away the 3 points and meant Leeds only walked away with 1. That's 2 points there straight away. Similarly, when they went to Hull as well. So I do think that if Leeds had a pretty good Championship keeper, or just a competent one really, then the table probably would look a lot different, and they would probably be soaring clear by about at least 6 points. But I don't want to just blame it all on Meslier, because it isn't just his fault. As much as he is a massive part of how Leeds aren't flying 10 points clear or whatever, it isn't entirely him. It also falls on the shoulders of the manager, in my opinion. Daniel Farke's struggles that we saw last season, and the struggles that probably did cost Leeds promotion last season, has continued this season, and he continues to struggle against low block sides who are compact and well drilled. So far, they've dropped points against Blackburn twice, Preston, Millwall, Bristol City and Norwich, with all of them sides just sitting back and being compact. On top of that, the large majority of them results also came away from home, with the away form actually having Leeds in 3rd and sitting 7 points behind Burnley, who sit at the top for most points gained away from home. So I do think that if Leeds really want to just secure it all and make sure that they definitely not just get promotion, but also try and win that title, something needs to be done with Meslier, and their away form also needs to be kind of taped up a little bit, because again, they're still top 3 for away from, and if you win your home games and you draw your away games, you probably still will be there or thereabouts coming in the season. But if they really do want to push on and secure that top spot, or even just top 2, then they do need to kind of up things away from home, in my opinion. Moving on now though, and speaking of Burnley, we can move on to talking about the team that are currently second in the league, and a team that I think have a very good shout for potentially going on to win the title. Burnley's performances this season have orientated around being compact, being really, really hard to break down, and just being a side that fight for everything, and primarily focus just not being easy to beat. I mean, so far this season, Burnley have conceded the least goals in Europe and have conceded the least goals in the league by a massive, massive margin, conceding 9 goals all season and just 0.3 per game, meaning that they're conceding a goal currently every around about 250 odd minutes of football in the league, which is absolutely crazy numbers. To be fair to Burnley as well though, it's not just Scott Parker's kind of mind of trying to be that defence first team. They've also got some ridiculous quality in that back line. Maximus Esteve and CJ Egan-Riley have probably been the best centre-half partnership in the division. They've also got players like Bashir Humphreys, who's really stepped up into that left-back role. Then you've also got the veteran Championship player in Connor Roberts, who's been at Burnley for a while, and he's been here, he's done it before. Obviously, last time Burnley were promoted, Connor Roberts played a big, big part in that. On top of that though, and a very, very big thing that I think about the 4 sides that are battling for the title is that Burnley have a very, very good keeper for this level. James Trafford has been absolutely sublime this season. He's at the highest save percentage in the league at 85%, and on top of that, he's also directly prevented 6.89 goals this season. There's a fair shout that James Trafford could possibly be the best keeper in the league, alongside the likes of Victor Johansson and Michael Cooper, but the stats don't lie. James Trafford is integral to Burnley's defence, and obviously, like I said, Burnley at the back have been a joke this season. It's so hard to get one past them. However, as I said at the start of the video, all of these sides have big weaknesses, and that's Burnley are no exception at all. Yes, Burnley have been superb defensively, as we've already touched on, but on top of that, they've been pretty poor going forward, considering the ability of that squad. This season, they've scored just the 12th most goals in the league, accumulated the 6th least expected goals in the league, registered the 5th least shots on target per match, and created the 5th least big chances in the division. Now, I do think that their defensive record being so good does come hand in hand with their attacking record being pretty poor, as Scott Parker does kind of push his side to be compact and secure at all times. He prioritises not losing rather than going out and ensuring that they win games emphatically. I mean, out of possession, Burnley often play with a 5 at the back, which is something that you maybe wouldn't expect from a higher side, but it works really well, and as a Burnley fan, I've got no complaints in terms of how good Burnley have been out with the ball. But going forward, there needs to be some improvement. When you look at the squad that Scott Parker has, I think it can be a little bit frustrating to see how poor Burnley have been going forward. I've got a list up of some players here. We've got Jeremy Sarmiento, Zian Fleming, Hannibal Mejbri, Jane Anthony, Lyle Foster, and many, many others who could massively contribute in an attacking way. But this season, not many of them have been able to really flourish, and I think that's a lot of that is part of the system. They're not bad players. I mean, Luca Koleosho has been really poor, and I do think a lot of that is down to the lesser freedom that he maybe has with the ball. And I think that's a lot about Scott Parker's team wanting to ensure that they do not get beat, they do not concede, and that always comes first before any kind of attacking football. And I think that that kind of idea of these really talented attacking players being slightly wasted is even more frustrating when you look that they have come undone against quite a few of the lower sides, similar to Leeds. I mean, Burnley rarely do concede and rarely get beat, but they have faced a lot of draws, specifically 0-0s, with them failing to score in over 30% of their league games this season, which is, again, for a side that really should be and probably will be near or thereabouts the top of the league at the end of the season, you want them to be doing a little bit more going forward. But it's not all on Parker. You know, he is really missing a proper striker. He's had Zian Fleming, who is a number 10, playing out of position up front, and he has scored a few goals, big one being in the derby, but Lyle Foster, his main striker, is out injured, or has just came back from injury, sorry. You've got Jay Rodriguez, who, yes, he's a leader, but a little bit past it. Ashley Barnes has came back, again, a leader, a little bit past it. So I think if in January Burnley can go out and get a proper goal threat for the final third, then Burnley can really push on and really go neck and neck for that league title. Outside of the current top two now though, and we can move on to Sheffield United, a team that I'm really undecided on. I know I said Leeds are one of the weirdest teams or something like that, but Sheffield United, I can't make my mind up on if the Blades are really good or not that good. I honestly cannot decide. They've been really solid at the back all season, really. I mean, up until Boxing Day, they hadn't conceded at home with Michael Cooper in net, but injuries have hit them, and injuries have hit them hard. They've got some big injuries, which I think has kind of limited how good they've been at the back. Obviously, Anel Ahmedavojevic, I don't know if he was injured, but I'm pretty sure he got a suspension. Sutar's now going to be out for a long time after an injury against Burnley. When they have their best back four, including, then you also throw in Michael Cooper as well, so back five, Sheffield United are really strong at the back, and again, similar to Burnley, they're just so hard to score against because there's not really a point that you can kind of focus on. Like with Leeds, you just fire shots at Meslier and hope he does what Meslier does. But with Sheffield United and Burnley, when everyone's fit, there's not too many weak points. However, Sheffield United have been faced with some rough injuries, which has kind of derailed that a little bit. However, Chris Wilder's side still has an abundance of quality in the likes of Gustavo Harmer, Jesron Raksaki, Callum O'Hare, Vinny Souza, Michael Cooper, Harrison Burrows, and many more. But I feel like they're not necessarily getting the best out of them players, or maybe not even that. That might be harsh. I think it's just the pure lack of depth in that squad is really starting to affect Sheffield United, despite a brilliant start. Against the top 6 this season, Sheffield United have only taken 5 points from a possible 17. However, they still only lost 4 games from 26, and when they do have their starting 11 fit, they do look a real side that could easily threaten for the title. As I said earlier, they were top of the league for a decent time, but then obviously injuries hit them and their depth isn't there. They've had to have a big squad overhaul in the summer because of how poor their squad was when they were in the Premier League. So it's going to be a big window for Sheffield United, I believe, especially with the new owners. I think a big thing about Sheffield United, and something that could potentially drag them up back into that kind of top 2 later on in the season, or even very shortly, is the difference in quality between the goalkeepers of them and a Leeds or a Sunderland, for example. If we look at Leeds, they've conceded just 18.9 expected goals this season. However, they've conceded 19 goals. You look at Sheffield United, who have conceded 23.5 expected goals this season, but have only conceded 17 goals. The difference in goalkeeper quality is out of this world. I mean, Michael Cooper at Sheffield United has averaged a 79.2% save percentage and has directly prevented 4.84 goals. When we compared that to what I said about Meslier before, with him preventing something like negative 1.72, Burnley and Sheffield United can make up some ground in terms of the points they're winning, purely off the back of their goalkeepers. However, we know Leeds have got probably the best depth in the league, and Burnley have a lot of depth too, with some players coming back from injury, so I think Sheffield United have to act in the market if they want to go up. Maybe not even that. If they want to finish in the top 2, basically, they have to act in the market. I think a winger has to be coming in, with Ben Barrett and Diaz looking likely. I also think any position really, even just squad depth could be nice. A midfielder potentially. Arblaster's obviously injured, which is a huge hit for them. You've also then maybe got some defensive depth, maybe a centre-half coming in with Sutar's injury, and possibly a striker, because Campbell has been good, but he's injured. Kiefer Moore, he's alright, but is he going to get you up to the Premier League? I'm not convinced. But I think Sheffield United, if they have a solid January transfer window, again, similar to what I said about Leeds and Burnley, it's very likely that they're there or thereabouts and they take this to the wire. I am aware that I've said that all 3 could take it to the wire, so stay to the end when I give you my final predictions and how I see this top 4 panning out come the end of the season. I'm not just going to sit on the fence, I promise. But finally, for our final side that could potentially go on to lift the league title, we have Reggie Lebree's Sunderland. Sunderland are a side that I've praised quite a lot this season, specifically some of the players that they've brought in and really utilised, even from the academy, like Chris Rigg, and also how Joe Bellingham's really got going this season. But equally, I've also said things that I'm not too sure that Sunderland will be able to continue how good they start this season because of the lack of depth, and that does seem to be coming to fruition. However, they've still done extremely well thus far. I mean, we look at what Reggie Lebree came into. It was a club that were in tatters. People wanted their owners gone. Everyone was frustrated because of what Michael Beale had done and the decisions that the board had made. The recruitment had a bit of a stumbling block. However, this season Sunderland have been superb, and Reggie Lebrie's got his side playing really, really well. Sunderland have really, really impressed me because they've done this well whilst they've also got such a lack of maturity and experience in the squad. I mean, although there's a ridiculous amount of talent in the likes of Chris Rigg, Joe Bellingham, Romain Mundle, Dennis Serkin and a few others that could all likely receive Premier League bids in January and in the summer, there's not much experience. I think you're looking at Alan Brown, Chris Metham, Luke O'Nien as the real lads that have got proper experience, specifically proper experience in England, whereas the rest are kind of young lads either from abroad or even from the academy trying to make it. So that is potentially could be a stumbling block when it comes to the big pressure moments later on, but so far they're coping really well. Not even coping, they're thriving. I want to give you some stats to just kind of show you how good Reggie Lebrie has Sunderland playing this season. They've scored the 4th most goals per match, conceded the 5th least goals per match, created the 6th most big chances, and have conceded the 7th least XG in the division. Now, don't get me wrong, them stats probably aren't as impressive as the other sides in the division. For example, you know, your Leeds, Sheffield United, even Burnley, they're not as impressive as them, but when you consider the injuries that they've faced and the problems Reggie Lebrie's had to put up with in terms of big players being injured constantly, then them stats are so solid. As of right now, they have 8 first-team players out injured, looking at Alan Brown, Chris Rigg, Dan Ballard, Ian Poveda, Jensen Sealed, Niall Huggins, Romain Mundle and Tommy Watson, with pretty much all of them players having the ability to make an impact on the current Sunderland squad. However, as I've already said, they're still a very hard side to beat and a very hard side to take anything from, in fact, especially if you go to the stadium. despite them injuries, they still have so much talent and quality in their team. But despite them still having talent and quality fit, I'm not sure that the squad has the depth or the legs to go all the way. It's going to be a tough test, which is why, again, similar to Sheffield United, I think Sunderland have to act in the January transfer window if they want to go up. And not even that, I think the owners have to realise that come the summer, Sunderland are going to lose quite a few players. You know, Chris Rigg and Joe Bellingham have already got mass interest. There's things like Patterson could be going to be like a 3rd choice at a Premier League club. So I do think that they need to act quick and make sure that they solidify the squad so that they can really push to finish at least in the top 2. Because I think Sunderland have the potential to do that. It's just if they can fill the gaps in the market properly. All in all, I think all 4 sides have some brilliant qualities and some really talented young lads and talented players in general. Burnley and Sheffield United have this really defensiveness, that kind of ability to just shut teams out and not concede. And also behind that, they have 2 top keepers for this level. You then look at Sunderland and Leeds. The keepers probably aren't at the same level as Burnley and Sheffield United, but they're both a lot better at scoring goals and punishing teams. So I think you kind of look at them all 4 sides have the benefits and all 4 sides have their weaknesses. So I do think it's going to go right to the wire. It's going to be a tough one. And all 4 teams really, I mean, Leeds need to get a goalkeeper and kind of sort out their away form. Burnley need to get a striker in and just someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. Sheffield United and Sunderland both just need bodies through the door. So January's going to be big for this title race. And like I said, it will go to the wire. But my final prediction for now doesn't make sense, but my prediction is going to be Leeds to top the table. I think they're going to do it. There's too much quality in that squad for them not to. I'm going to say Burnley are going to scrape into 2nd place and go up in the autos. Then I'm going to say Sunderland narrowly behind Burnley in 3rd, and Sheffield United as well narrowly behind Sunderland. I think we're going to finish it something like Leeds are going to hit, all 4 sides are on track for over 90 points, but I think Leeds will win it by a point. Burnley might get into the autos by a point or 2. Sheffield United and Sunderland will be very close as well for that 3rd place spot. I think it's going to be a really fun end to the season as we come into the latter half. And I'm really excited, and I hope Burnley get into the top 2, please, lads. Anyways, though, if you have enjoyed, please do leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.